We really live in an amazing world, a truly beautiful planet. And I'm sure that each of you have a place that calls you back to it, a place that you can go to in your mind when things are a bit busy or hectic. Maybe walking along the beach at sunset, sitting on the riverbank with a coldie while your mates are stoking the barbecue, or walking with your kids through a forest. I have the privilege of being one of many people around the world that are dedicated to ensuring that these places stay amazing for centuries to come. One of the things that's threatening them, however, are our choices around energy. And recently in a conversation with some friends, I realised that I had missed something really big. I'd missed a big shift. It was a couple of months ago. I was at a Club of Rome meeting. We'd spent the day working through technologies and solutions with some incredible people from all around the world, thinking about how we can apply technologies and new principles and new policies to solve some of the world's really challenging problems. And about halfway through the day, I sort of pulled my notes out. I'm a bit of a mad note taker. And I just wrote the question, have we reached a tipping point? And I sort of put it aside and kept going with the workshop. And then later that night, the best part of some of these trips is the dinner in the evening, as I'm sure some of you know. So we headed to the local restaurant, relaxed a little, had a couple of glasses of wine. And I asked the question, what is it that really recently is having you be inspired about the work you do in the world? The work you do in sustainability. Because if you listen to the media, you can hear a lot of doom and gloom, a lot of fear, a lot of things, a lot of uncertainty about whether things are real or not. And I hadn't seen these guys for about 6 months, and some of them for about 12 months. We're talking about Hunter Lovins and Bob Costanza and Herbert Girardet, just amazing minds. And I said, well, what is it for you that has you keep going with the energy that you have? And as they were sharing their stories, each little piece started to come together. And Bob was sitting next to me. He's one of the world's best economists. And he said to me, he sort of just murmured, sounds like we might be at a tipping point. And I was like, oh, Bob, hang on. Dived into my book, dived into my bag, pulled my book out, opened it up, and asked, this is the question I was asking today. And what happened in that moment was, because each of us had a chance to share with each other what we'd seen that was giving us hope and inspiration, a couple of them on their own is interesting. But when you bring them all together, it's really compelling. So I have the pleasure now of being able to share with you some of the things that came out of that conversation. So we're going to start with coal. This is where our journey starts. In about March 2015, the Bank of America released some data that was picked up in the Australian, showing that coal imports into China for the first time in industrial history had slowed and were forecast to remain lower. Now this was unheard of, and even 2 to 3 years before this, if you had to mention that, if you're an economist and you said this is the way it's going to go, you would have just got laughed out of the room. A year later, the Institute for Energy Research released data that showed in the United States not only had consumption dropped, but production was dropping. Stanley and Poor's commented on this and said, we have booms and busts in the economy, but what's happening to coal is a permanent decline. And short after that, JP Morgan recategorized investment in coal as a prohibited transaction and put it on the same list as child labour and illegal logging. And this has just happened, within the last 6 months. Incredible. So a big shift in coal. Part of the reason why there's a big shift in China is when you burn coal, yes, you produce greenhouse gas emissions that are affecting our entire planet, but you also produce a lot of pollution. So people in Beijing dying every hour on average from air pollution just from vehicles, and the mayor of Beijing standing up and saying it's not safe to live here anymore because of our energy choices. And just because of our energy choices, we're still using caveman level technology for our energy. It's time to move on. So let's balance this story with the renewable energy story. This is a fairly new facility in Victoria. On April 6th this year, Bloomberg published figures that showed back in the mid-70s, if you wanted to produce 1 watt of energy from a solar panel, it would cost you about $70. And would you believe, looking at these figures, it's now down to $1 and even lower than $1. Are we in business? Is this something you want to invest in? Something that's gone from $75 a watt down to $1 a watt. And you can see at the same time the amount of investment in that technology has followed suit. What's the impact been? You can see here on the left the forecasts. This is a week later after Bloomberg published that. They published the headline, "Fossil fuels has lost the race against renewables. This is the beginning of the end." Yeah. So we're seeing investment in fossil fuels and forecasts for fossil fuels going down, and investment in clean energy and a portfolio of clean energies. It's never just one thing, it's never a silver bullet, it's always a portfolio. And not only are we seeing a shift in where money's being invested, we're seeing a rapid move towards taking money out of dirty investments. It's called divestment. New term for me recently. Divestment means I'm going to take my money out of that because I don't think it's going to give me a return. And of course, the people that are most interested in long-term returns are the people that manage all of our superannuations. In 20 or 30 years' time, I'd love to be able to look after myself and my wife, give my kids a bit of a leg up, give my grandkids maybe a bit of a good education somewhere, or just have a little bit there. And right now, there's someone investing my money that I'm making. Do I really want to put it in something that's forecast to decline compared to something that's forecast to shoot off? So I've got over 500 institutions now as of this year. This is really new. ANU was the first one in Australia. Curtin University followed soon after. So 500 investment groups have come together and are withdrawing $3.4 trillion of investment out of fossil fuels. $3.4 trillion, which is enormous. Now whole cities are doing it. Institutions, municipalities, just running away from fossil fuels as fast as they can. This is the most staggering thing that I learned. Peabody Energy was the largest coal company in the world, considered to be recession-proof. It was like bread, milk, and coal, something you'll always be able to sell. This is their share price. It dropped 97% in the last 5 years. Racked up $10 billion of debt. Finally, in April this year, called it quits, filed for bankruptcy. Along with 3 of the 4 other largest coal companies in the world filed for bankruptcy. The last one's hanging in there, and the share price is 2% of what it was 5 years ago. Along with this, 50 oil companies around the world filed for bankruptcy. And put your hand up if you saw this on the news. I certainly didn't, and I'm in this game. Excellent, someone's paying attention. I'm in this game. I live and breathe this. This is what I do every day. I love it. I really, this is my thing, and I still miss this. So sitting around this table with my friends, and they're saying, "Have you seen this? Have you seen this?" I'm like, "Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen that." And those two are interesting, but altogether, an incredibly compelling story. So now we're seeing something really exciting. For the first time in our industrial history, we're seeing a decline in greenhouse gas emissions that's not as a result of a shock. So we saw in the 70s, we had the oil OPEC crisis. There was a bit of a drop-off. We've had a few events over our history where there's a bit of a drop-off, but it's always recovered. And now we're seeing a decline based on a whole lot of little things rather than a shock, which is amazing. This figure's March 16. And the future's looking great. Some of the initiatives we're seeing, people often say, what about China? China has the most aggressive greenhouse gas emissions reduction targets in the world, 65%. And it's not an environmental agenda. It's a social agenda, because it's just so dirty, burning it. Like I said, caveman technology, seriously. And it's not economic. The social case and the economic case for shifting away from fossil fuels has been known for decades. Scientists are writing about the impact of it. Sven Arrhenius, Professor, Nobel laureate in the end of the 1800s. What shifted this year was the third pillar, the third thing we needed to get on board, which is the economics. And it undoubtedly shifted. So China has said, right, that's it, we're going nuts with this. We are going to build a network around the world that harnesses the Arctic winds and the equatorial solar to deliver renewable clean energy to 80% of the world. And have a guess how much money they're going to put up? $50 trillion. Just over half of the world's annual GDP. And why are they doing that? It's a business opportunity, it's a way to clean up our planet, it's a way to be really proud of the work we're doing, inspiring people all over the world. And these guys are part of it, these two fellas out in the boat, they're part of it. It's awesome. And just recently, as of the 8th of October, so 2 weeks ago, the German government said, right, that's it, from 2030, you will not be able to register your fossil fuel-driven car in Germany. So if you've got one already registered, you're okay until that runs out, because admittedly I do drive my beloved VS Commodore that I've had for 22 years. And I can't quite afford a Tesla just yet. But this is all sides of government coming together to say what's in the best interest of our people. So air pollution, water pollution, what's in the best interest of our environment for our children, and now as of this year, what's in the best interest of our economy. The thing that's going to be different about this, and the thing that's most exciting about the future is, it's not going to be based on one technology like steam engines, or microchips, or electricity. One thing that changed the entire thing, and changed the entire economy. It's going to be a combination of things that all of us can get involved, things that I can be involved in, that you can be involved in, your family's involved in, your businesses are involved in, your governments are involved in. We all get to be part of it. It's creating a portfolio of opportunities. So ladies and gentlemen, we definitely this year, I'm convinced, I'm hoping that I may have convinced or at least interested you in the concept that we've reached a positive global energy tipping point. And I invite you to join with me and millions others that are now working towards transitioning our amazing blue planet towards a safe, clean, sustainable and vibrant future. So that all of our places, my places and your places, all of our places can be protected and nurtured for generations to come. Thank you.